Sagittarius, today is day 30 of Tapping into Miracles and Magic. It is the last reading in this series. I'm so grateful to you for being present with me for this series. Thank you for receiving. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for participating in this series. Okay. If you have not been here, this is a series that I centered around the magician. And today, Sagittarius, the magician wants you to hear that it is time for you to move on. It is time for you to move on. I am hearing, Sagittarius, that you have known for quite some time now that it was time, that it is time, it is beyond time, it is past time for you to move on. Okay. And you've known this for quite some time. You felt this within your body for quite some time that you were ready to move on. You just didn't know how. Right? You didn't know how, you didn't know where exactly you needed to go or where you were being called to, but now you are seeing more clearly than you have been where you are supposed to go, and you're also seeing more clearly why you're supposed to move on, right? Expansion is the purpose. Expansion is the purpose, Sagittarius. You're not moving on for any other reason than that your soul is calling you to expand. And this is exactly why it's time to go now. This is exactly why you shouldn't delay it anymore, okay? The magician is reminding you today that you have been well equipped to make this journey, okay? And you have every single tool that you need to embrace the possibilities and bring them to life instantaneously. Okay, you have every tool that you need to be able to embrace the impossibilities as well as to be able to move through any issues that you might face along the way, right? In the past, you may have made a decision, you may have stepped onto a new path, and issues may have come up, and you, in the past, allowed those issues to discourage you. But that's not where you are anymore, right? The magician also wants you to hear, Sagittarius, to be prepared. Okay, be prepared for the answers and solutions to flow in like a cleansing rain. Take what resonates and use it to create heaven on earth for yourself and for those you love. The first card that we have coming through today to clarify the magician's message is the moon. Okay. And through the moon, the magician is saying, now that you have broken down the illusions and let go of the mental interpretations that served as barriers, it's time for you to realize that you are an embodiment of the field of uncertainty. Sagittarius, you are a blank page, which means that you are tied to nothing except your heart and soul. And this is a part of the reason why you couldn't really move forward even though you were hearing and knowing that it was time to move on, you couldn't move forward because your mind was still full of the stories of the past, right? Your mind was still full of those narratives. You were still over identifying with who you believed yourself to be as the character. And now that your attention is focused on your heart and soul, you realize that you yourself and life in general is simply a blank page that you can do anything with. And this is why you were breaking down those illusions. This is why you were letting go of the illusions, right? So that you could see that life, it's all a blank page, and that all the illusions of the past, they were just barriers. They were just distractions. They were just roadblocks, right? This is why, Sagittarius, it's time for you to lean into the practice of meditation consistently right now so that you can patiently unearth the sacred visuals, right? Because you've been so focused on the illusions, but now that those illusions have been pushed out, pushed away, and let go of, now you can unearth the sacred visuals that want to be brought to life through you, those sacred visions and visuals that your soul is holding on to that want to be brought to life through you. Now you can unearth those and bring those to life. Okay, you can choose, Sagittarius, to turn around, right? You're being called into this field of uncertainty. You're being called to step into the unknown. You're being called to step onto a new path, and you can choose to turn around, Sagittarius. But what would you be risking by doing so? What would you be risking by doing so? This is something that you need to look at, right? And this is what you will look at through the practice of stillness and meditation, right? This is Sagittarius. This is the moment on the timeline where you have to decide if comfort and conformity mean more to you then freedom and liberation. If not, then you know exactly what it is that you need to do. And the second card that we have coming through to clarify the magician's message is the Three of Cups. Okay. And through the Three of Cups, the magician wants you to hear that because you chose freedom and liberation over comfort and conformity, right? Because you chose to step out on faith and embrace the unknown, you are being led into a space where the love that you feel within your being, the love that you know you are, is being reflected back to you through new relationships that are forming. Okay. These relationships are ones that greet you with a familiarity and with a warmth that you have always known and felt in your heart, right? But that you could oftentimes only dream about, that you could oftentimes only dream about. Okay, these relationships are not restoring your hope in love because that's not what you need. You did that for yourself. You restored your hope in love for yourself, by yourself, through yourself, right? But these relationships will mirror back to you the truth that has always been living within your soul, okay? The magician wants you to hear through the Three of Cups, Sagittarius, that now is the time for you to start celebrating because the frequency that you embody right now is what is drawing you closer to what resonates. And the last card that we have coming through to clarify the magician's message today is the Queen of Wands, okay? And through the Queen of Wands, the magician wants you to hear that as this chapter is closing out, as you are shutting the door on the past, remember to stay in your heart. Okay, remember that everyone moves at their own pace. Everyone comes to understand in their own time, right? The message for you through the Queen of Wands, Sagittarius, is to stay in your light, stay in the frequency that your soul has called you to emit, and know that nothing can deny you when you lead with love and compassion. The bonus card that we have coming through to wrap up the message for day 30 is the Two of Swords. Okay. And through the two of Swords, it's being noted that the inner conflict, Sagittarius, and confusion will cease once you make a decision. Okay. You are aware that it's time for you to move on. Now it's time for you to make a decision. Are you going to move on or are you going to stay where you are? And again, if you stay where you are, what would you be risking if you do? What would you be risking if you do? Okay. Are you moving on, Sagittarius, because you want to escape? Or are you moving on because you want to commit and devote yourself to the wisdom, guidance, and knowledge of your soul? These are, before you move on, these are questions for you to look at, right? Am I moving on because I want to escape? Or am I moving on because my soul is calling me to something higher, because my soul is calling me to expand? These are questions that you need to ask yourself. And as you are sitting with yourself, with sitting with these questions and being honest with yourself, you might realize, you might notice that there are a few more illusions that you need to work through before you can come to a space where you are confidently saying that, yes, I'm moving on because that's what my soul is calling me to do, not because I want to escape. Okay, this is the moment on the timeline, Sagittarius, where you are no longer denying your heart's desires and suppressing your needs in order to keep things afloat, right? That was the message from day one or two, how you had this tendency to keep things afloat, but now you truly understand, now you truly see how that was harming you. And so now you are putting eyes on your heart's desires. You are putting eyes on what your soul is asking of you. And you are choosing to follow that. You are choosing to surrender to that. Okay. This is also the moment on the timeline where you are choosing life more abundantly because you've lived the contrast for far too long. And this is where the inner conflict has been coming in for you lately. You've been putting eyes on the life that is truly available to you. You've been seeing it in your mind's eye. You've been feeling it in your body, in your heart, right? And now you are choosing to live life more abundantly. Now you are choosing to embrace what you have been seeing because you understand. You've lived the contrast, you've known the contrast, and there is no going back. Okay, this is the moment on the timeline, Sagittarius, where you are tapping into miracles and magic with ease because you finally understand that you have been the magician all along. When you were in the past struggling to tap into the miracles and magic, It was because you didn't know or understand who you were. You didn't have an understanding of who you are. But now that you do, it's happening effortlessly. It's happening consistently. It's happening with ease. And Sagittarius, you need to hear that you deserve to be here. You deserve to be here. Allow yourself to be here. Allow yourself to be here. And know that whatever you have to leave behind in order to be here, in order to be in this space, if it is meant to follow you, it will follow you. If those you leave behind are meant to understand, they will come into the understanding on their own. That is the message for day 30 of Tapping into Miracles and Magic. Again, this is the end of the series. I appreciate you so very much for being here with me. I am grateful that you were able to walk through me with this journey. I appreciate your presence so very much. I do want to invite you to join me for the Archers Reiki Circle, which is a weekly group offering that I host specifically for the Sagittarius community every Sunday morning. If you would like to sign up for that, you can send me a message and I will send you the link. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you.